Welcome to our conversation with Kamal Nath, Minister of Road Transport and Highways for India. Minister Nath, thank you for joining us today. You recently announced an audacious goal of 7,000 new kilometers of highways every year. Can you tell us how you hope to achieve these?
Well, with the infrastructure deficit we have, the only thing which will make a difference will be doing 20 kilometers a day, which means 7,000 kilometers per year. It's a huge quantum jump. And in this, we have to build huge capacity. First capacity is within ourselves, within the management of doing this program. To do 7,000 kilometers a year, you've got to have 20,000 kilometers of work in progress. And 20,000 kilometers of work in progress is $50 billion. So you've got to have a capacity to manage work in progress of $50 billion, which is a huge capacity building exercise. The technological, the consultancy, the contractor capacity, and so on and so forth. All this is a huge capacity building exercise which we put into motion, and I think we are on track.
And how are you hoping to attract foreign investment for this, if that is necessary?
Well, the first thing is that India continues to remain an attractive investment destination. And within India, roads is a very good asset for banks. You have a construction risk and you have a post-construction risk during the concession period. We got good quality construction contractors all over the world. So with good construction contractors, construction risk is minimized. Post-construction, the risk is traffic, or there's a country risk. In India, well, if there's no country risk, just doesn't apply only to roads, and there is no country risk. The risk of traffic is not there, because with over 30% growth in the auto sector, with the young age profile which India has, and with the need for roads, the need for movement, I think traffic risk is no risk. So I'm really looking at investment rolling in. I think that's not the problem which is a serious concern of mine.
And what role do you see for the private sector in these plans?
Well, I expect that we're going to have an investment of about 70 billion in the next 3-4 years, and this about 45 billion will be from the private sector. Post-construction, I see a big role, which we've seen it start to happen, of pension funds, insurance funds, long-term funds, infrastructure funds coming in. And banks do have a big role. In fact, banks, I think, will be overwhelmed by the magnitude of what's going to happen, and it started happening over the last few months.
Infrastructure spending was the single biggest line item in the budget this past February. Why is transportation so important for India?
Well, it impacts industry, agriculture, and trade. If you have a global plant which cannot ship out to the whole world, you have a plant which can't move its products, well, it doesn't work. It impacts industry. We are the second largest producer of fruits and vegetables in the world. 40% of them rot because of infrastructure deficit. And our exports and imports. So this sector really impacts industry, agriculture, and trade. And well, when you talk of infrastructure, you talk of infrastructure across the country, you talk of roads across the country. You create economic activity in areas which have been deprived so far. So from any point of view, from a social point of view, from a political point of view, from an economic point of view, this has to get the highest priority.
And so far we've only discussed highways and roads. Are there any plans for trains or other alternative transportation?
Well, in urban infrastructure, we have embarked upon our metro, our underground rail system in our major cities. For example, Delhi will have about 415 kilometers of metro, of underground rail network by 2018, which will be bigger than the underground in London, which is 408 kilometers.
Wow. Thank you so much for joining us today, Minister Nath.